keep this in mind. Your church, the schools that you send your children to, when you go to the hospital, you will submit or you will suffer the consequences. To live in a state that literally tells you that it's not a crime to do this to a child, none of it matters anymore. Do you understand that the reason why we're in the position we're in today, why this depravity is spreading like a wildfire, is because, I don't know how else to say this, except that Christians, we need to wake up. Hey, would you mind hitting that subscribe button and being a part of this community with us? I would love to hear from you on a regular basis. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up button, when you like this video, YouTube will push it out to more people, and it would really help spread this message. Howdy, y'all. I'm Brylan. Now, I've covered tons of disturbing stories on my channel, and you're like, yeah, we know, Mr. Doom and Gloom. Okay, side note, I actually have an extremely positive story I'm going to cover coming up soon, and you don't want to miss it. So hit that subscribe button to be inspired. But in the meantime, this has got to be one of the absolute most disturbing stories that I have ever covered on this channel. So buckle up. This is in California. Your horrible, any sane person would say, California Assembly blocks bill making the criming of a minor a serious felony. So in California, it is not a felony. Check this out. Essentially, it sounds like it's not even against the law to harm a child. How absolutely disgusting is this? Now, I'm going to show you the details of this, and it's going to blow your socks off. And then I want to contrast it with something else California did that honestly makes this not that surprising. Honestly, all the signs have been there that something like this was actually possible in California. But check this out. This week, the California Assembly's Public Safety Committee blocked a bill that would have made human criming of a minor a serious felony. Now, I have to be careful with certain words I say, otherwise the system will literally just remove this entire video. The bill HB 14 noted that California consistently ranks, check this out, number 1 in the nation in the number of human criming cases reported to the National Human Criming Hotline. Human criming, I'm getting tired of saying that too, is among the world's fastest growing criminal enterprises and is estimated to be $150 billion a year global industry. Check that out. $150 billion with a B, not an M, a B, billion. And that's the reason, 150 billion reasons why this is not being made a felony. There's just too much money in it.
About the frog and the scorpion. Y'all know this story. Scorpion's trying to get across the river and he needs some help. He talks to the frog and says, man, why don't you give me a ride? The frog says, I'm not going to do that. You'll sting me and kill us both. He said, no, I won't do that. I got to get to the other side. Just give a brother a ride. I promise. Halfway across, the frog feels the sting in his back, and before he succumbs and sinks, he looks up to the scorpion and says, but why? To which the scorpion responds, it's just my nature. That's fallen man. It's just his nature to be at war with God, and it will always be his nature until the bitter end.
The bill would have made human criming of a minor subject to California's 3 strikes law, and thus someone convicted twice could, not would, could be sentenced to life in prison. There's no 3 strikes here. There's no third strike, you're out. Third strike, mister, you might be going to prison. We'll see. No, this is, you do it once, you get caught once disturbing a child like this, and you know what? Your life, it's forfeit. It's forfeit now. 1 strike, you're out. The bill had already passed unanimously in the state Senate. But not even one of the 6 Democrats on the committee would vote on the bill. The only yes votes were cast by 2 Republicans, Assemblyman Juan Alanis and Tom Lackey. The Assembly Public Safety Committee Chairman, Los Angeles Democrat Assembly Reggie Jones Sawyer, opposed the bill. Why? Oh yeah, wait. I think I know why. $150 billion. GOP State Senator Shannon Grove, who co-authored the bill, said she had spoken with Democrats on the committee prior to the hearing. They all thought it was a good bill and said they would consider it. But there is this issue of the rolling chair. So I don't think anyone was going to stand up against the chair. And she said it perfectly. She said, "You're horrible, and you should be ashamed of yourselves," yelled members of the audience at the meeting, while victims of human crime broke down in tears. Of course. To live in a state that literally tells you that it's not a crime to do this to a child.
Thirdly, they're shameless. In verse 19, they become callous. This means being past feeling. They don't feel anything. In fact, their callousness is so severe that Philippians 3:19 says this. This is a stunning statement. Their glory is in their shame. Their glory is in their shame. They're shameless. Their glory is in their shame. They parade their shame. What they should be ashamed of is what they parade. This whole culture does that.
It's disgusting. You need to leave California. If you're in California, if you live in California, you need to leave. There comes a time when you need to shake the dust off your feet and leave California to its own destruction. It is too far gone. There's nothing that can be done anymore except for the intervention of the Lord. And I pray that God would allow intervention in California. But at this point, if you're staying in California with your children, then you are putting your children in harm's way. So this isn't just about you, and this isn't about the weather and the beaches. I grew up in California. I know it's a beautiful state, but my children and the safety of my children come first. And that's why we left California. I am profoundly disappointed that committee Democrats couldn't bring themselves to support the bill with their stubborn and misguided objection to any penalty increase regardless of how heinous the crime, Grove said. Now, listen to this. Listen to the stark contrast here. You can pass a note to a bank and rob a bank. You can commit arson, and that's considered a serious felony. What is a serious felony? So is there like a regular felony and then a serious felony? So there's like the kind of felony that's like, oh, that's actually kind of funny that you did that. We're still going to give you a felony, but we all got a good laugh out of it. And then there's like the serious felony, like, okay, mister, that was something serious you did there. You're in serious trouble this time. But remember, even in California, a serious felony means nothing. They're trying to get as many people out of their prisons as they can. And then listen to this too. The committee has also rejected other measures that would increase penalties for domestic violence offenders of developmentally disabled children and other sexually violent crimes. Do you see the pattern here? Do you see what's going on? Are you putting 2 and 2 together? Because, remember, 2 and 2 equals 4 still. Not 5, not 6, or whatever the new truth is. Whatever the new thing to believe is. No, truth is truth. When you put it together, you go, wait a minute, hold on. California is insane. These people are the most depraved people, some of the most depraved people on earth. And it is disgusting what they are allowing. Again, all of these things are being put before your child. So if you live in California, you need to put your child first and get out of that state before it's too late. There is coming a time when it's going to be too late. Now, it's not really that surprising when things like this, when California just did this a month ago, California bill would classify not affirming a child's identity as child abuse. Can you believe that? Yeah, so really, is anything a surprise anymore? A recently amended California bill would classify not affirming a child's identity by one or both parents as child abuse. AB 957 was introduced into California's legislature by Assembly Member Lori Wilson and State Senator Scott, of course, Wiener. The bill rewrites much of the state's family law and classifies a parent's affirmation of the child's identity as part of the health, safety, and welfare of the child. So check out what this means. This is how far it goes. The bill amends Section 3011 of the Family Code, which deals with child custody disputes, and requires that a court determining the best interests of a child must consider affirmation of their identity as a part of that. So when they're determining the best place to put a child, instead of the parent that actually loves their child enough to do everything they can to spare their child from a lifetime of hurt and pain and regret, no, instead that's looked at as pure hatred. True love is hatred now. And then this is why you need to get out of California as well, because of this. Because the bill changes the definition of what constitutes the health, safety, and welfare of a child, any organization interacting with children, including schools, churches, hospitals, would be required to affirm a minor in their identity.
The church in America is going to suffer so terribly. And we laugh now, but they will come after us. They will come after our children. They will close the net around us while we are playing soccer mom and soccer dad, while we are arguing over so many little things and mesmerized by so many trinkets. The net even now is closing around you and your children and your grandchildren, and it does not cause you to fear. They've already come after your children, and for most of you, they got them. They got them through the public schools and indoctrination, and the university and indoctrination, and then you wonder why your children come out not serving the Lord. It's because you fed them right into the devil's mouth.
Keep this in mind. Your church, the schools that you send your children to, when you go to the hospital, you will submit or you will suffer the consequences. If you don't submit, your child can literally be taken away from you. Now you're saying, well, I don't have children, or I don't send my kids to public school, or whatever your excuse is in your mind. None of it matters anymore. Do you understand that the reason why we're in the position we're in today, why this depravity is spreading like a wildfire, is because Christians have sat on the sidelines and said, I'm not going to get involved. That's not for me to get involved. I don't want to be labeled as a bigot. Just name it. Name the excuse for sitting on the sidelines. It is because men of God, women of God have sat on the sidelines and have done nothing, and allowed this to completely overrun our society in the name of love. Loving like Jesus would have loved. Jesus wouldn't have confronted anybody in their sin. Jesus wouldn't have stood up for the truth. You know, that's the biggest lie that you will ever hear, is that Jesus wouldn't have been involved in what's going on. He would have just sat back and allowed it all. I don't know how else to say this, except that Christians, we need to wake up. And we need to start speaking the truth, living the truth, and standing on truth, the truth of God's word, and not bowing down to the world, not giving in. Quickly, I want to point this out. This is Titus chapter 1, verse 15. To the pure, all things are pure, but to the defiled and unbelieving, nothing is pure, not even a child. But both their minds and their consciences are defiled. These people are sick. Their minds are sick. Their consciences are sick. And nothing is pure to them at all. And look at Psalm chapter 5. You don't want to miss this. Verse 9. For there is no truth in their mouth. This is David talking about his enemies, but it applies to those we see in front of us today. For there is no truth in their mouth. Their inmost self is destruction. Their throat is an open grave. They flatter with their tongue. Make them bear their guilt, O God. Let them fall by their own counsels. because of the abundance of their transgressions, cast them out, for they have rebelled against you. But there's hope. There's always hope, because Jesus is the ultimate hope. His death and resurrection was so that we can be saved from this darkness that is surrounding us, so that we can spend eternity with him, rejoicing in the presence of God. But check this out. John chapter 1, talking about Jesus. He was in the beginning. He was the Word. Jesus is the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Jesus is God. And look at verse 4. Look at what it says. In him, meaning Jesus, was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Nothing can overcome the light of Jesus, the hope we have in Jesus. Just like if you lit a candle in a dark room, that candle, that single flame, would penetrate that darkness and completely eradicate it. Darkness does not stand a chance in the light. But hey, let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. And please, hit that subscribe button. Join this community. I would love to hear from you regularly. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up button, you know when you like this video to get pushed out to more people, and it would really help spread this message. And don't forget to check out our links in the description below for the Daily Grace Company. You can check out some amazing Bible study tools to get deeper in your Bible study. And also you can check out some of our merch down there, biblically inspired clothing. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.